So a few nights ago, I had all my family over at the house, all my kids that are married and living away, and my mom was in town. And we were just chatting around in the living room, having a little fun. And in the background, the movie Signs was on. And it kind of captured our attention, and we all ended up watching Signs. And something happened that I had never seen before that kind of reminded me of something very important that I want to share with you. But if you haven't seen Signs, there's a pastor, his wife passes away in a tragic car accident, and he loses his faith and he decides he doesn't want to be a pastor anymore. And he's really struggling with his faith. He's struggling, no, I mean, he was a pastor, so he's struggling with knowing who he is and with God. And there's a lot of turmoil in his home. And at about that same time, there's an alien invasion. So it's frightening. Uh, it's a really good movie, but there's a moment in the movie where the pastor, the ex-pastor, is flustered and frustrated and lashes out, and it's very much out of character for him. Uh, but he does, and it's because of the stress of the situation and everything going on. And in the past, he had turned to God when things got difficult, but he didn't have that ability anymore, right? Because he had lost his faith. And during this moment, he and his family come closer to each other. He lives with his two kids and his younger brother, and it's really interesting to watch the dynamics. If you haven't seen Signs, be prepared. It's kind of freaky. It'll make you uncomfortable, but also there's a great storyline behind it all. Uh, but after all this happens, his brother comes up to him in a more calm moment, and his brother basically says, "Listen, I can deal with some things, and I can't deal with other things." And he said, "What I can't deal with is my brother, the man that I look up to the most, that I want to be like, losing control and not being the leader." Basically, he says, "I can't deal with that," and he says, "I don't ever want to see that again." I'm paraphrasing, and he says, "Okay." Um, and later on, he stands tall, and it's a really good movie. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but anyway, it reminded me of a lot for multiple reasons. But when my wife passed away, I have six kids, and my youngest were 13-year-old twins. I guess at the time, my oldest was maybe in his mid 20s, uh, and two of my sons were married. But I have six kids, and I knew that they would be watching me. And if you've ever lost a spouse or anyone close, you know how traumatic and difficult it can be. There's a lot of pain and suffering. But I realized very quickly, and I'm so grateful. My dad had taught me a few things when I was a kid, and I remember one of the things he taught me was when a leader seems flustered or frustrated or frantic, followers become disturbed. And it really set me on a path of maintaining a certain amount of emotional control in those moments. It's not unusual for a lot of us to go into fight or flight um, when bad things happen or when very, very difficult things occur. But I knew that they were watching me, and I knew they needed me to be strong, at least when they saw me. And afterwards, I had a conversation with my oldest son, who was almost in tears as we talked about this situation and how it's been almost 4 years ago that my wife passed away. But he reiterated to me what I was hoping they saw in me as a pillar of strength that they could rely on in those difficult moments. Now, he also knows, I mean, there's no question, and I think all my kids know, there's been tremendous suffering and pain for me over this. But I've done that in my own way and on my own time, so that they know that, by the way, but they also know they can rely on me in very, very difficult situations. And I think it's important for us to keep that in mind as difficult things happen in our lives. When leaders are flustered or frustrated or frantic, followers become disturbed. And we do not want, as parents, we don't want our kids to become disturbed. If that happens too often, that could create traumatic situations that don't need to be traumatic for them. So hopefully that's helpful. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.